Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My own daughter stole $62,000 from me. After that, am I the jerk for evicting our tenants of 22 years? And after that, show me up at my own wedding? We'll see about that. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to steal $62,000 from anyone. I'd rather go for your retirement, to be honest. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My own daughter stole $62,000 from me. My wife and I are in the fortunate position of being wealthy. We had to work very hard to get to where we are, and we never forgot where we came from. Our kids grew up as rich kids, but we never spoiled them, even when we could have. They went to nice schools and had nice things, but they also had summer jobs and after-school jobs to pay for their own extras. We also push philanthropy in our family, so our kids recognize they are privileged and that our life isn't even remotely how regular people live. I'd say for the most part, our kids have grown up to be respectful and good people. Our oldest kids are twin boys, and their sister is 18 months younger than them. All three are in college now. Our youngest two are in 8th grade. I got a call from our bank a couple days ago saying that someone had cashed a check that was charged to our bank account in the amount of $61,347, and that the check had been made out to the tuition office at the university my oldest three kids attend. Naturally, I investigated the matter myself with the university, and I got some answers. I pieced together that one of my kids snagged my checkbook and wrote a tuition check for a friend of theirs. There's a much bigger story behind why this kid couldn't pay, but that's private, and my wife and I agreed to fund this young person's education because of their private struggles. I grilled my kids and figured out that it was our daughter, Joanna. Joanna was apologetic, but she was also quite insistent that she stood behind her actions. I respect my daughter for her convictions, and she really did have good reasons for why she did it. But the fact remains that she stole, and then she hid it from us. Joanna asked what her punishment is, and I told her to get a job, because she now owes her mother and I $62,000. Here's the thing, I don't expect Joanna to pay us back, and if she came to me tomorrow with the money, I wouldn't even take it. What I want is to see her make an effort, an acknowledgement of her actions and the consequences. If I see that she's actively trying, I'll tell her that she doesn't have to pay me back. She's my kid, and I love her, so all I want is for her to learn a lesson. But Joanna doesn't know any of this. All she thinks is that she now owes me $62,000, so naturally I'm a horrible father and a very mean person. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. I actually think you should follow through and expect her to pay it back in full. Same. Otherwise, she'll think from now on, oh, I just have to do what he wants for a couple weeks and I'll be good. My husband saw this post as well and thought of a good idea. OP lets the kid get a job and lets her pay him back for a year. Don't tell her it's just for a year, but at the end of the year, forgive the rest of the money. So she gets to spend a whole year learning the value of $1, as she clearly doesn't right now, and see how little a minimum wage job will even make a dent in that kind of money. And he can either keep the money or put it in savings for her for a later event. I think you're on spot for how you're addressing the sneaking, stealing, and lies. I'm sure you made it clear had she come to you and made a case for helping this person out, there would have been no consequence, but that the disciplinary action is a result of the dishonesty and the theft, not the jerk. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for the way they're punishing her or not? Please let us know. I think this is what you call great parenting. Am I the jerk for evicting our tenants of 22 years? Our son is 22 years old. When he was born, we bought a second home, always with the intention of gifting it to him when he was an adult. It's a modest home, 2-bedroom bungalow with a developed basement that has an additional room, about 10 minutes from where we live. When we bought it, we listed it for rent, and a lovely couple started renting. They went on to have 6 kids. They chose not to move and continued living in the 3-bedroom home with the kids. The dad works, the mom stays home. Important to note that we bought this home in the year 2000. Even with a 15-year mortgage, the mortgage was quite low, and the rent not much more than the mortgage. We've only raised the rent 4 times in the 22 years that they've lived there, and the rent is still well below average for our area. I did look it up. An average rent where we are for a similar house is $2,000 to $2,600 a month. Our renters have only been paying $1,300 a month. When they started renting, we did talk to them. We did tell them that this house was eventually for our son. We never actually expected to have the same renters for 22 years. Our son graduated university in June and has been staying with us since then. But he's a responsible young man, and we decided that Christmas would be a good time to gift him this home. At the beginning of September, we talked to our tenants and gave them a 2-month election notice, figuring we'd have November and December to get the house cleaned on any repairs done. Understandably, they are not happy. They've been posting all over social media about what bad people we are, kicking them out, how they can't afford to rent anything big enough for their family. Their oldest kid, who's 19, even found my son on Facebook and sent him a horrible message. He had no idea we were planning to gift this to him. Their Facebook posts have been shared in our local community groups, and everyone is commenting about what evil landlords we are. Am I the jerk for evicting long-term tenants so our son can move in? Edit to add. We did mention gifting the house to our son when he started university, so we told them when they moved in back in 2000 and when he started uni in 2018. Edit 2. It wasn't a legal eviction notice. We also didn't break the lease. 5 years ago, they decided not to renew as they thought they might buy soon and move to a month-to-month lease. Edit 3. It seems 2 months is not long enough notice. I have sent them an email giving them an additional 2 months, bringing it up to 4 months notice. Edit 4. I sent this to my husband. He told me when he was there in April installing a new hot water tank that he told them, well, the dad, that we'd likely be giving notice this summer. What kind of entitled nonsense is going on here where people are calling you a villain? All renters know that they aren't paying for their own mortgage and they have no entitlement to your property whatsoever. They're on a month-to-month lease. You're telling me that lease is ending. They should have saved up money for this. 60 days is a great deal of notice for people who told you years ago that they wanted to buy a house and didn't want to resign the lease. This BS about getting a house you didn't pay for is just a load of BS. You did. Your credit is on that house. You did the down payment, which is what allows the mortgage to be so low. And the home loan is in your name. Not the jerk. These comments are so entitled. Not the jerk. You literally gave them 22 years to prepare. How could you be the jerk? Everyone here saying you're the jerk is insane. You've been more than fair, even keeping them at a low rent. How could they say you're the jerk? You aren't responsible for providing them housing. Based on their actions, I would hold firm on a 2-month deadline. Had they been civil, I would have extended it, but they do not deserve it. You will be lucky if they don't wreck the house at this point. Everyone sucks here. It's your right to evict them, but I feel like 2 months is way too short notice given that they've lived there for 22 years, they have 6 kids and only 1 income. The holidays are coming up, and we're in a recession where inflation is insane. You only charge them about half of what rent is going to cost them anywhere else, so they're going to have to get a different job or another job to afford it, and the job market is horrible at the moment. That being said, they could have talked to you about being able to stay there longer until they can make arrangements to afford a similar house, but they chose to get on Facebook and be salty rather than do anything productive. ETA 2. The amount of y'all telling me it's not OP's responsibility, blah blah blah. First of all, learn to read, cause I never said it was. Second of all, do y'all live in caves and never interact with people outside of the internet? Must be the case if y'all have absolutely no sense of compassion. You can tell me I'm wrong till you're blue in the face, but you simply will not convince me that having compassion for others is wrong. Stay mad about it. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. If you're a landlord, never let people online find out. They've gotten some people canceled over that sort of thing. Show me up at my own wedding? We'll see about that. I, 25 female, and my husband, 30 male, got married last Friday. We planned our dream wedding down to our dream catering company. The wedding was beautiful, and after the pictures, we headed to our cocktail hour, and that's when I saw her. My guests were all told to wear dark colors so my husband and I could stand out. I also asked my guests to wear minimal makeup. I had assumed that that applied to the staff too. The server, who was around 19-ish, had on clearly too much eyeliner. She also had diamond studs in her ears, a flashy ring, and one of those ugly nose studs. The staff's uniform was a black long-sleeved shirt, but on her, it was too low cut, and her pants were far too tight. It was super distracting. She was walking around serving drinks and talking to my guests. I asked another member of the staff to speak to their boss. When their boss came out, I pointed out the server and asked that she be dealt with because she was super distracting. Their boss apologized and called the server back into the kitchen. Not even an hour later, the server was back out serving food for dinner. I called the boss over again and asked if the server could work in the back or go home. Her boss said they were short-staffed tonight, so she would see what could be done. After a couple of hours of not seeing her, I saw the server again behind the bar. I called the boss out one last time and told her if the server didn't leave, I would be calling the cops. The boss finally relented and told the girl to go home. My husband and mother-in-law said I was acting crazy and that I probably got a poor college kid fired over nothing. My mother and maid of honor said that it's my wedding, so I can do as I please. It's my wedding, and I don't want someone overshining me. And the server should know she's at work and not dress up so much. I do feel kind of bad because she was pretty young. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. But don't worry, I'm sure the catering team will get it right at your next wedding. You're the jerk. Too bad you didn't get to enjoy your wedding reception because you couldn't stop obsessing over the server. The things that you objected to with the server could have been fixed, but you didn't want it fixed. You chose to complain about her and not the offending items. This was entirely your choice to not enjoy yourself. Who spends so much energy on their wedding day because a server was wearing too much eyeliner and earrings? You're the jerk. You need therapy. This is not normal. Well, what do you think? Is Opie a jerk or not? Please let us know. Good luck to the groom. He's gonna need it. My wife, a stay-at-home mom, wants us to hire a nanny. My wife is a stay-at-home wife who looks after our 2 kids. The other day, she said she's thinking of hiring someone to pick up around the house. Both of our kids are in elementary school from 8 to 2:45. I see no reason to hire one, but she said she's busy raising the kids. I work full-time and see no way how she can be busy every day when they're at school 7 hours a day. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Maybe you should trade jobs with your wife for a day or two, and you will be amazed at how much she gets done. You're the jerk. You're right that she shouldn't need to hire help. If she's struggling, she should be able to turn to you first for help when she needs it. Maybe instead you could try talking to her and seeing how you guys could work together as partners. You're the jerk for calling her a stay-at-home wife when she's actually a stay-at-home mom. Big difference, even with the kids in school. You're the jerk. If you can afford it, why begrudge her? Childcare isn't easy, and a lot of the time can be overwhelming. What's wrong in having someone take on some of the grunt work so mom can have more time with the kids and with you? You're the jerk. God, how I hope she takes you to the cleaners when she divorces you. You know why she wants to hire a nanny? Because what she does is 1,000 times harder than whatever you do at your little job. I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years, and they were the worst years of my life. My now ex, but husband at the time, constantly complained about how dirty the house was when he got home. Got a problem with dishes in the sink? How about cleaning it yourself, tough guy? Sorry, I'm busy raising our kid all day, which is no easy task. Eventually, the state took my baby because my sorry excuse of a husband couldn't even help clean around the house, so it was a constant mess. The only good thing I got out of the failed marriage was the alimony he's still paying me, and I'll milk for as long as I can. I seriously hope she does the same to you. Not the jerk. Been there, done that. My wife at the time, who was also a stay-at-home mom, and I had this same issue before our divorce. She begged and pleaded to hire a live-in nanny who would clean and cook for us. Our twins were 10 at that time, so they were at school all day. She swore up and down that with her workload at the house, she didn't have time to cook and clean anymore. Well, I set up a little hidden camera in the living room, and lo and behold, her busy day consisted of nothing but her sitting on her butt watching TV and browsing the internet on the phone all day. 30 minutes before I would get home, she'd get up and start acting like she had been working on something that was actually productive. This was what happened every day for a week. When I confronted her with the evidence of what she was doing, she lost it on me, saying I violated her privacy. This was really the beginning of the end of our marriage, and I hope your situation turns out better than mine did. Judge decided that she got to keep the house, both cars, most of what I had in savings, and part of my retirement once that day comes. Sometimes I feel like the system is rigged against certain people, and I really wish I'd never gotten married. Definitely won't be doing it again. Bruh, sometimes this stuff gets depressing to read about. Sure does. Here's a funny one. Kevin, give me all the food you got. Another memory from my days at McGolden Arches. It was our typical Saturday lunch rush. All 5 registers have a line of people and drive-thrus around the building. I, the crew leader, have 5 people in the grill, 1 on fries, 5 up front at the tills, 1 in back drive taking money, one in front drive taking orders and making drinks, and a food runner for front drive, bagging burgers, fries, etc., and handing it out to the cars. I was calling production. Side note, this is over 20 years ago when McArches had those giant food warming bins, and it was made to order. We had a special clock with red and blue numbers above the warming bin that told us when to throw away the food. When the food came up, you looked at the clock, pulled the proper metal number, and placed it behind the food that just arrived. We could keep food in the bin for 15 minutes, and then we'd have to throw it away. Back to the story. It's the beginning of the lunch rush. I've got a full crew, a full bin of food, and we're getting into a good groove. In walks the area mangler. He takes one look at my bin, goes back into the office, and demands that I get written up for changing the time on the food. He and my manager walked up and started discussing this with me. I tried to explain to him that I wasn't changing anything and that all the food in there had come up in the last 5 minutes as indicated by the time place cards I had in there. He didn't believe me and said, "There's no way you can get that much food that quickly, and I'll prove it to you." And he proceeded to waste everything in my bin. And then he said, "Your customers are hungry. You need to get them food." I looked back in the grill and said, "Kevin, give me everything you got." And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Area manager just wasted the bin, and you see the line of customers we have out here." Kevin said, "You got it." Side note 2. You see, Kevin is a master in the grill. He was, at the time anyway, an overly hyped up teenager that was very good at what he did. He could outwork any 3 people on the grill. He was quick, accurate, and loved a challenge. Well, Kevin, being the person that he is, started giving me food so fast, I was having trouble pulling it down and placing it and putting the right time place cards on it. I had the entire bin stacked with food within 5 or 6 minutes and asked the area manager if that was proof enough for him. He just grumbled and walked out. That was also the last time anyone doubted my timekeeping for food at that place, especially with Kevin running the grill. Coworker doesn't want me touching his customers' cars. Okay, very well then. This happened about 5 years ago. I used to work at a dealership. I was part of the detailing crew. There were about 5 of us in that department, but only 3 of us on site at a time. For context, when a sales rep makes a sale on a vehicle, they bring it to us to get it detailed along with stickers removed from windows. Nothing too serious, as they're already fairly clean. Now, the way this dealership works is there's only one detailing department for 5 different dealerships, so we would detail cars for Toyota, Volkswagen, Nissan, GMC, and Hyundai. So yes, a fairly small detailing squad for 5 different dealerships. It sounds like a lot, but surprisingly it wasn't too bad. This specific sales rep, we'll call him Jake. Jake was married to this other sales rep we'll call Mary. For whatever reason, Jake hated my guts for almost the entire time I was employed there. No idea why. My assumption is that one day he saw me talking to his wife, which I didn't know it was his wife at the time. But that's because I was getting some info on a trade-in that came in and I was thinking about purchasing that car. It was a 2016 Nissan 370Z, so I never ended up buying it. I just wanted to get more information about the car, how much the monthly payments would be, etc. I guess he didn't like me talking to her, so he held a grudge against me. Again, this is just speculation. Also, I want to note that I've been in the detailing field for about 6 years at this time, so I had my fair share of experience and I was actually one of the best detailers in the department. Now then, one day Jake came up to our department with a sold unit, and I kind of overheard him talking to one of my coworkers about me. He was talking behind my back, and I mean he was saying rude stuff about me, but I was able to make out most of the things he was saying. One particular line I did understand was, "Hey, I have this car here. Customer wants you to just remove the stickers, nothing else. Also, make sure OP never touches the cars I bring up, okay? Do I make myself clear? He doesn't know what he's doing." Me acting like I didn't just hear what he said, I continued working on my own stuff and thought to myself, what did I do to this guy that he doesn't like me? But whatever, I guess. If he doesn't want me to touch his car, then so be it. Cue malicious compliance. One day, I was the only one that showed up. One guy called out, and the other said he'll be really late. I didn't mind. That day was also the day that Jake brought a sold unit first thing in the morning to us for a cleaning, and I was the only one there. He didn't know that. He thought the other guys were here working on another car or whatnot. He dropped the car there, left the keys on a board where we keep the other keys, and then he walked away. Little did he know I was alone. I did not touch his car, as per his request. The car sat there for 4 hours. He came up to pick up the car and noticed that it hadn't been touched at all. He came to complain and said, "Why hasn't my car been touched? Did no one touch my car?" I said, "No, Jake, no one touched the car," which he replied with, "Why? The customer is waiting. What on earth? Why didn't you do it?" And I said, "Oh no, I can't. You said not to let me touch whatever car you bring us because I don't know what I'm doing. And sadly, I'm the only one here at the moment. So I guess you'll have to wait for the next guy to show up." Assuming he does show up today. He looked shocked and started apologizing because he said, "I didn't mean any of that." I just ignored him and went back to doing what I was doing. He had to explain to his customers that he had to reschedule them for another date. Our boss later found out about what had happened, and he had a long talk with them about treating his fellow colleagues with respect and not to discriminate against anyone for any reason at all. I know the ending wasn't as satisfying as most posts here, but I felt good that day when he found out I heard everything he said about me that day. Can't give me the product I ordered even though you have it in stock? No problem. I was out of town with my wife on vacation and she forgot to pack her curling iron. We'd been out for a couple days, but she wanted to look nice for a dinner party we were going to, or something like that, which is irrelevant to the story. She wanted to buy a new one anyway, so I started searching for options online to see if a local store had one she liked. To our surprise, not only was the one she wanted in stock, it had a huge discount and was available for pickup at a nearby store. I won't get into details of where this store is or what the name is, but it's a large enough chain to have stores in all major cities across the country. So we place the order and drive to the store, go to the hair products section where we're supposed to pick it up, and this rude lady who seems to be in a hurry says, in a fast and annoyed tone, "We can't pick it up yet as they need to send it from the warehouse that's exclusive for online orders." We can see there's a bunch of them on the shelf next to her. Also, I'm aware that some stores do work under this stupid process where they need to receive online order product purchases first and give you those instead of what they have in stock for various reasons. But this wasn't the case. We've done this before and they'll just grab one from a shelf and give it to us. There's no serial number or anything that could make this one different from what they would have received to fulfill the order, so this lady was just being rude. She said there was nothing she could do even though she could see our order as confirmed for pickup. At this point, we would have canceled the online order and purchased it in the store, but this lady really ticked us off and it didn't have the discount there. So here's the malicious compliance part. We told this lady we had canceled the online order and we wanted to buy one from the shelf. She immediately changed her attitude and sold it to us without complaining. We went back to our Airbnb. My wife used it for that particular event and for the next few days. Then I called the store to confirm that our online order was ready and they said it was. So we went back to the store and guess who was there again? So we got to the counter, asked for our order, and she gets it for us. She didn't seem to recognize us, so as soon as she gives us the online order package, I tell her that we need to return this too and give her the curling iron we bought from her. She then recognized us and just stood there watching for a few seconds. Then she goes back to her crappy tone and asks why we're returning it. We don't need it anymore. She calls her manager and tells him that we're asking to return a product that doesn't have a problem and that we are returning it because we don't need it anymore, like expecting him to tell her not to proceed with the return. He obviously tells her that as long as it's within their stated 30-day period after the purchase, it's returnable for any reason unless we damaged it. The manager leaves and the lady doesn't say a thing after that, but we can clearly see she's upset. We get a full refund and leave with a brand new curling iron again. We later found out that they can in fact just grab any product they have in stock if they confirm an order, but they need to do some extra steps to match it to their inventory later, and that they don't get a commission. So this lady was probably expecting to pass it on to the next shift. So in short, there was no reason for her to not fulfill our order other than wanting a commission and being lazy. In the end, she wasted more time and didn't get a commission from our purchase. Well, this is Red Lobster, and we do things the Red Lobster way. This happened several years ago, and I am forever relieved I don't work in a restaurant anymore. Solidarity to all kitchen workers for the endless BS you have to deal with. At the time, I was working in the kitchen as an assembler. This can be one of the most clutch positions on the line, as you take all the food being prepared by the other cooks and organize it into tickets that can be taken out into the dining room. Accordingly, it is often a bottleneck for food leaving the kitchen. If you have a slow assembler, cooked food goes bad under the heating lamps. Grilled salmon dries out, fries become soggy, Linguine Alfredo hardens into concrete. Really horrific stuff. It is imperative that food not sit in the window. I was working a weekday lunch shift, which is normally pretty slow. We must have provoked the wrath of restaurant gods on this day though, because out of nowhere, the store got hit with a tsunami of customers. I could just barely make out the other cooks through the clouds of shrimp scampi, fryer grease, and cheddar bay biscuits flying through the air. I knew the crap blizzard was headed my direction and began putting empty plates up in the window with the shape of each ticket that was to leave the kitchen, a technique I had learned to help survive times like this. On the other side of the window, coordinating the servers, was my manager, Jerkface. Shouldn't use his real name. Actually, let's call him Bob instead. Bob was a bit hyperactive and had an irritating tendency to micromanage kitchen processes, a problem compounded by his not knowing how to run a kitchen. When I began putting empty plates in the window so that the incoming interstellar-sized wave of seafood had something to land on, he stopped me.
"What are you doing?"
Bob asked. "I'm putting the plates and their sides in the window because we're about to have a very high volume of food coming through," I replied.
"Well, this is Red Lobster, and here we do things the Red Lobster way. We plate the food when the food is ready, and we don't put the sides on early."
I tried explaining that the Red Lobster way was designed by sentient suits and ties, physically incapable of holding a spatula, that our sacred way, as dictated in the good book of employee training, had gone out in the trenches of last year's endless shrimp special, that while I appreciated the job, I wasn't prepared to go out at the hands of this rush to uphold its most obscure tenets. But he wasn't having any of it. Bob insisted that I take the plates out of the window and only pass him plates and tickets that were 100% completed. Knowing full well that Bob was flying us by the book into a storm of crap, I put on a raincoat, rubbed some Vicks under my nose, and braced for the impact. 30 minutes later, the window was chaos. Finished food was left in the wings of the window, while I plated up one finished ticket at a time. Bob was equal parts confused and furious, like a toddler whose toy was suddenly taken away.
"What's this food waiting on?"
he cried, gesturing towards a shriveled up steak and its associated sides. "Well, that order is waiting on some fried shrimp, and I need to wait for the ticket to be complete before I plate it up."
"Why is the ticket missing fried shrimp?"
"Unfortunately, I'm not manning the fryer, sir, so I don't know." This continued for the better part of an hour. It seemed like every ticket was missing one little thing that kept it from leaving the kitchen. After the rush had passed, Bob approached me with the twitchy, nervous energy of a hyper-caffeinated, insecure manager who needed to assert his dominance over the underpaid crew of some bunk seafood restaurant.
"Can I, speak to you in the walk-in for a moment, username's Rue?"
"Sure thing." We walked to the cooler as I struggled to remember how to fight off an attacker.
"So, what happened back there?"
Bob asked, arms folded, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "You said we should follow the system, and we did," I replied, mentally noting that he was standing in front of the walk-in's only exit.
"But there were a lot of missed items on those tickets. We had food dying in the window."
"I saw it. Yeah, it was pretty bad."
"So, why was the food missing?"
"I don't know. I wasn't cooking the food. I was assembling it. I'm the assembler." This line of questioning continued, with Bob trying to somehow pin this mess on me, while I insisted that I did exactly what was asked of me. After not being able to move past this point for several minutes, Bob made some sweeping statement about
"doing better next time,"
and then left. Incidentally, the next time I was assembling and Bob was on the other side of the window, nothing was said about the Red Lobster way, and the rush went smoother, albeit with some hotter plates and servers having to return for delayed items. I guess we ended up doing better after all. My housemaid keeps throwing out my food. She says it's gross. I'm losing my mind here. I need perspective. 6 months ago, I moved in with a friend and her friend. My friend is chill. Her friend is nice, but is super clean freak. My friend warned me about that, so I've been on my game keeping everything extra clean. Though we had some small differences of opinion. Example, I left 2 textbooks on the kitchen table overnight after studying, and the next morning she told me I shouldn't leave mess on the table. Okay, I didn't think a couple of books was a mess, but cool, no worries, won't do it again. The problem is the fridge. One of Jane's weekly, self-appointed chores is to clean out the fridge. I don't think a fridge needs to be cleaned weekly, but hey, her call. Thing is, she keeps throwing out my food. We have different ideas about how long food is still good. She's adamant leftovers shouldn't be eaten after 3 days. I eat leftovers for up to a week. I'm pretty generous to my vegetables with how long I still eat them. Like, if my carrots get a little soft or my kale's a bit wilted, they're not perfect, but they're still good for a stew. Let me stress, they are not going bad or gross or smelly or moldy or any of the terrible things you can imagine in a shared fridge. I've never left actual bad food in there. They're just not supermarket shiny. My food budget is tight. I'm not gonna waste food. We just had a blow up because I went to eat the stir fry I cooked Monday night. Gone. Jane's thrown out my leftovers before because she claims it's gone bad after a few days, or thrown out unpretty vegetables that I know were fine because I looked at them that very day, but she had claimed that they were gross. I've asked her before not to throw out my food just because she personally wouldn't eat it, because it's fine. I asked her about the stir fry. She said she threw it out because it's been there for weeks. Jane, it hasn't been there for weeks. I cooked it on Monday night. It has. It's been there for weeks. It's disgusting. I got rid of it. Jane, I literally cooked it on Monday. I know I did because I was there. Please stop throwing out my food. It's fine. You don't have to eat it, but you can't just toss my stuff. She went off about how it's disgusting, the food I keep in there, and it's going to make me sick. It doesn't. And how she's doing me a favor and I should be thanking her for cleaning the fridge weekly because it's disgusting that we wouldn't do it if she wasn't here. I can't even deal with this, so I just calmly said, Jane, the fridge isn't disgusting. Please leave my food alone, and walked upstairs because I just couldn't handle getting into a screaming match about it. She went to my friend, going off about how rude I was to walk out on a discussion and how my food is gross. I know I might be looser than the others on when food is still good, but I don't think I'm doing anything gross. My food is not gone rotten, smelly, or moldy. Am I being gross to have leftovers in the fridge for a week? Or vegetables that are a bit soft? ETA. Thanks, and lots of people have suggested a mini fridge in my room, which I get is one solution. I just don't think I should have to. Carting my food up and downstairs from the kitchen to cook a meal if my roommate is being unreasonable seems uncool and expensive for me to get one. We do have separate shelves in the fridge, so she knows my leftovers are mine. To be honest, I think she targets them because she assumes they're gross. They are sealed, but we all put a special portion of our vegetables in the bottom chiller drawer together, but she knows which ones are hers and which are mine. I guess I was just paranoid because I grew up in not the cleanest house, and we did really stretch our food and sometimes did have stuff so gross in the fridge as a kid, so even though I don't let food go gross now, I was worried I'm crossing some kind of unspoken boundary about acceptable food to keep in the fridge because my house and fridge were messy growing up. ETA 2. My God, people. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't being inadvertently gross with my old veggies and my 5 days leftovers. Not go nuclear. Y'all are savage. Remind me not to mess with your food. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.